For my COETAIL project, I decided to enhance our school-wide reading program, LIS Reads, LIS Lay, through the use of gamification and technology. I had 4 main goals. 1, to connect the LIS Reads program to our secondary school house competition through a series of weekly challenges. 2, to support students as creators by offering them opportunities to respond to literature creatively using technology. 3, to break down the walls of our isolated school by using Skype and Google Hangouts to connect our students to book clubs and authors around the world. And 4, to develop our students' digital citizenship skills through the use of Creative Commons. Some parts were amazingly successful, and other parts did not pan out quite as I'd planned. The project began in February, which was my test month to assess student interest and figure out whether I would use a game management tool like 3D Game Lab or continue to administer the challenges myself. Our student house leaders introduced the competition in a school assembly and explained the first challenge. Subsequent challenges were announced through the morning notices and advertised on our Tumblr blog. Students had choices about how to participate by allowing them to submit on Twitter, Tumblr, and our library bulletin board. For students who were too young to legally sign up for these social media accounts, I encouraged them to bring their submissions to me so I could submit for them. The problem with student choice is that they don't always choose what you want them to choose. In the first week, 1 student submitted through Tumblr. 78 submitted through the bulletin board. This was my first clue that my grand plans for technifying LIS Reads was not going to work. With approximately 1/3 of our student body participating, there was not a lack of enthusiasm for having a competition centered around books, which was my original concern. But in the Web 1.0 world we exist in at LIS, Web 2.0 challenges were not something that got the students excited or engaged. At this point, I decided, while I would keep trying with the social media tie-in, I would focus more on the creative technology options and Creative Commons related challenges that could then be submitted on the library bulletin board. There was limited success with this as well. Again, it turns out my students were into sharing and illustrating their favorite quotes and designing new covers, but they wanted to do it with construction paper and colored pencils, not Creative Commons licensed images and cool tech tools. At the end of February, I decided to refocus. While it was unfortunate for my COETAIL project, the technology aspect of my LIS Reads, LIS Lay game just wasn't going to work. However, the goals of using game elements to increase student involvement in the program and allow them to be creators was working with traditional paper and pencil methods. The competition aspect was raging. So throughout March, the LIS Reads, LIS Lay Game On competition continued as students created and performed poetry in a variety of forms and languages, sharing their results on a very crowded bulletin board and in their classes. LIS Reads, LIS Lay related challenges continued through last week as we held an LIS Reads House Quiz Bowl during assembly, where house teams competed for glory with trivia questions about all of the LIS Reads books. Luckily for my COETAIL project, one of my other major goals did work out. Sometimes life in Luanda as an expat can be pretty claustrophobic. I want to break down the isolation of our school by connecting our students with authors and readers around the world. I have been looking for schools to connect with through my PLN since June of 2013, when I first introduced the idea of LIS Reads to our school. I used Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and good old-fashioned email. However, actually making these connections happen is a lot harder than it looks on Twitter. In the end, I was lucky that Tim Gotterson used his family connections to put me in contact with the librarian Linda Hayawaka at the American School in Japan. We first touched base at the beginning of April, and by the end of April, we used Skype for a book club discussion with our students about BOMB, the race to build and steal the world's most dangerous weapon. We have another book club discussion scheduled where we'll discuss Middlesex with some of our upper high school students at the end of May. Additionally, we had 2 different authors Skype in to talk with our students. These Skypes were by far the best part of enhancing LIS Reads with technology. Skyping in authors as experts involves prepping students on Skype etiquette, submitting questions through Google Docs, supporting the actual Skype call, reflecting on the process, and sending our thank you notes. Our students really enjoyed this experience. Here are some of their comments.
It's just awesome. I mean, come on. you get to meet somebody like famous that you really like. It's like meeting Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise. You're gonna tell me it's just not awesome. It's just awesome.
Okay, it just gave us a perspective of what a writer's kind of lifestyle is.
Well, it was nice to hear him explain some of the things that when I was reading the novel, I actually wanted to ask him, and it was interesting because I've never been able to do that before, and like some things go unanswered, and it kind of bothers you throughout the novel. And it was nice to be able to like get his insight on like things he wrote and why he wrote them and how he was inspired, and I don't know, his take on what he was writing.
For me, it's a great experience because, like for example, he was a historical writer, and so I also like to read like books that he may write or authors like him write.
I'm also kind of I'm not a writer. I actually do that for a hobby, and I kind of feel the same way you do. I actually love writing because I have this really messed up imagination, and so yeah, I use it to write. I don't actually, I didn't actually decide that because I was forced to. Well, most of the things you said kind of already happened to me, and it kind of, I felt like this broken connection between writers. I'm not a writer. So yeah, that's one of the things that I liked about talking to you, and I actually never spoke to an actual writer.
I thought this experience was really great because we got to talk to a famous person that was like across the Atlantic Ocean. I like this Skype experience because you're talking to the author, and he's giving you, he's telling you also the insides and like sort of behind the scenes of the book. So like how you said there was some other chapters that didn't got published in it, and why, and so on. So it was an amazing experience talking to him face to face on Skype.
When I started planning this project, I wanted to do something big and exciting and take some risks. I got caught up in the possibility of what happens with educational technology all around the world and forgot about my environment and my population. The infrastructure at our school and in our country just isn't ready for a social media tech-heavy game program. For starters, since January, we've had multiple instances where we couldn't access the internet or our server for several days at a time, and countless days where the internet was out for anywhere from minutes to hours. We restrict students accessing the school Wi-Fi on personal devices because our bandwidth can't handle so many users. Some students access the internet through 3G on their phones, but for most, the cost of credit is just too expensive. As the country continues to improve, this sort of project has great potential to be successful in the future. But for now, I need to think smaller and more creatively. On a positive note, turning the reading program into a game-based competition and linking it to our house program did wonders for spreading the text beyond our regular readers and raising school spirit. Also, our students' minds were blown when they got the opportunity to talk with published authors and discuss books with kids from around the globe. This is a part of our reading program that I'm looking forward to growing next year. In conclusion, I can't help but think of the poster that hangs in my friend Mags's Year 6 classroom. FAIL, F-A-I-L, stands for First Attempt in Learning. I can't wait for attempt number 2.